Good morning. It is that time of the week again. Fitness fragrance for you time. Fingers crossed my knee is going to hold up. It feels a little bit better this morning. And what one am I reviewing today? Well, I'm reviewing this one by Zara. It is called Sand Desert at Sunset Intense. Yes, not the most memorable name, but it's an intense version of a previous one they've made before. This is actually one of my brother's fragrances. He's in the shower, so I thought I'd take it today. But if you haven't seen one of these fitness fragrance reviews before, essentially I do a morning workout. So I go for a run, walk to the gym, do a gym workout, walk back, all while reviewing this fragrance. And we'll rank it on 5 categories. So we're going to look at its price and its value for money. Is it good value for money? Its versatility, so how much you can use it in different situations. Can you dress it up, dress it down? We'll look at its projections, how much I noticed it during my run. Obviously, as you see, I've applied it on myself already. We'll look at its compliment factor. Do I think it's a compliment getting fragrance? And also its longevity, where essentially I'll walk to the gym, I'll spray it before I go. 3 hours later, once I've had my shower, I'll smell my arm and see if we can still detect it. Hopefully the showers are working today. So yeah, what I'm going to quickly do though, before I do the first 2 categories on my run, we're going to talk about the note breakdown. What is actually in this fragrance? What makes up and what gives it this name? Sand, Desert, at Sunset, Intense. So it's a relatively big note breakdown for this fragrance, which I'm glad about. It gives you a little bit more of an idea of what you're detecting in the fragrance, and I'll give you an overall vibe as well after it. But if we look at the top note, you've got this spice mandarin and smoky bergamot. So you've kind of got this contrast of sort of fresh citruses with an element of depth to it, whether that's spice or that sort of smoky complexion. And you certainly pick both of those up. Now, I've noticed this a lot with fragrances. Ferragamo Uomo, which is one I own as well, definitely has that sort of caramel vanillic base, but it tends to have mandarin orange in the top, and it adds a bit of zestiness, a bit of spiciness, and a little bit more of that sparkling opening that gives it that wow factor. And that's what you're getting with this fragrance. A bit of smokiness, which I wonder if there's a bit of leather in it. We'll look a little bit later on, but you definitely get that. So the smoky bergamot and spice mandarin definitely makes sense, and you will detect it when you spray the fragrance. Then when we get into the heart, deep amber. So again, I've said this before, amber isn't a specific note, it's kind of a combination of notes to give an aroma, and it's kind of that vanilla type smell, and that's what you're getting with this. Very much that modern vanilla smell that a lot of young men smell like for date nights and occasions like that, statement occasions. Orange blossom, again, a little bit like the spice mandarin at the top, and just gives you that resinous warmth. So there's a lot of resins, a lot of woods in this, and it gives it that masculine edge. You can tell this is a men's fragrance, not a unisex fragrance. Then we go into the base, vanilla, sandalwood. Sandalwood's giving that sparkling as well. So I said about the zestiness from the orange in the opening, that spice mandarin, but you're definitely getting, that sandalwood in the base, and it just smooths the fragrance out as well. Sometimes you get really harsh notes, particularly if there's synthetic chemicals. Sandalwood helps smooth it out essentially and gives it, again, that masculine vibe. Dark musk, yes, it's not really heavy. Look, I've said this is kind of more of a night out fragrance, definitely more of a date night type scent, but it's not really heavy, not aggressive in your face. Those citruses and maybe that musk giving that clean vibe as well, which makes you feel a bit more well put together, and maybe, obviously we'll talk about versatility later, maybe a little bit more wearable in the day. And then benzoin, again, adds a little bit more to that vanillic sweetness, which you certainly get from this. There's also, benzoin resinoid, which is in sticky dates. It's almost got this caramel vibe to it as well. So you're getting this like vanillic caramel smell with this nice citrus opening that adds a little bit of a sparkle alongside that sandalwood. And overall feel, it says it's much warmer and deeper, sweeter, more resinous. This is compared to the original, stronger projection, longer lasting, and it's sensual, sunset into night, desert vibe. So that's what it's trying to give you. The vibe it's trying to give you here. It's like that evening in the desert. And yeah, it's not meant to be really strong and cloying because you wouldn't want that, but maybe like a white t-shirt, smart casual, you're on holiday with the family. That's what it feels like. It's a little bit of a statement saying you're going out for a nice meal or something along those lines. But what we're going to do now, we're going to rank it on those 5 categories. And I'm going to do the first 2 on my runs. We're going to look at its price / value for money and also its versatility. Let's get out there. I don't think it's raining today. Well, not till later anyway. Hey, it is the start of another week, so it is Monday morning. And what are we talking about today? We are talking about Sand Desert at Sunset by Zara. So price / value for money for this one. You would have just seen the price. It's £25.99, so essentially £26 for 100ml on Zara's website. Now, do I think that's good value for money? Well, I look at it and think, if I was blindfolded, what would I say this fragrance is worth? And again, it's a very recognisable scent DNA. Ferragamo Uomo, Zara Wanted by Night. Those type of fragrances, they've got this nice sort of light citrusy opening, and then when you get into that dry down, you get more into those vanillic sweetnesses, the caramel start to shine through. And essentially that's what this fragrance is meant to replicate. That's what it's trying to do. And for me, as someone who's really into fragrances, I can find that a little bit boring. And I probably personally wouldn't want to pay a lot more than £26 for that. But that being said, again, when you're looking at its competition like your Ferragamo, Uomos and that, you can get 200ml bottles here for a pretty similar price to just one of those. And in that sense, that makes it good value for money. It's an easy to put off scent, it's mass pleasing, it's got a bit of versatility, which we'll talk about later on in a bit more detail. And it's fine. I think the only thing that's going to let this down for me a little bit on price value for money is, first of all, they only do a 100ml bottle. Sometimes that can be a bit of investment, particularly if you don't like the scent. I don't think this is going to be one that you dislike anyway. But if you're someone like me who wants something a little bit more complicated, and you look at like a Bentley for Intense Bentley Absolute in that same price range, I think they're better than this one. Even if they're not as easy to pull off as someone who's just getting into fragrances. But also Zara do discontinue fragrances very quickly, and that's what a lot of clothing brands do. They kind of, look at the shelf life of them, and then after about a year you can't find them at all, and then you end up paying extra on eBay if you want them. So I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Easy to pull off, mass pleasing, and I think for a lot of people it'll just do a lot of jobs. And I think if you're getting a fragrance that can do most jobs for £26, you can't say that's a bad price. So for that reason, I'm going to give it an 8.5. Right, on to versatility next. Okay then, so on to versatility. How much can you dress this one up, dress this one down? Different ages, different occasions, different seasons, all those things. Well, we can't mark it down on being, not being a unisex fragrance. This is a men's fragrance, and you certainly detect that from that smoky bergamot in the opening, and the element of some of the spices as well. It definitely gives it that more masculine edge. But I would say this is a lot more versatile than I initially thought it was going to be when I first saw the bottle and the fragrance and the word intense, because it's not that strong. We'll talk about projection later on anyway. But when you look at the fragrance, and when you look at the name more than anything, when you see sand desert, you're thinking more of that summertime, again, hot climates, and that lends itself to the citruses that you've got in this, the mandarin orange, the orange blossom, and the bergamot. But obviously then it does say the word intense, and sand desert at sunset night time, dress up. Maybe that lends itself more to those sweeter vanillic type notes, and obviously benzoyl and caramel, all those components that are in this fragrance. So it is a pretty versatile fragrance in that sense, because you've got that freshness, you've got that sweetness, but the sweetness isn't overpowering. And for me, that means you could have this easily as a signature scent. Look, I think it would be too cloying on a real high heat day. I don't think it's a running or a gym scent really, but on a cool day like today, it's fine. And that makes it okay for transition seasons as well. So I think cooler hot days, if it's summertime, cooler spring, summer days, it'll work well. And even on those slightly more humid winter days, it'll be fine as well. I don't know if it's actually going to be strong enough to cut through the cold alternatively as well. But look, it's fine. It's a little bit juvenile, a little bit synthetic. So I think an older gentleman wouldn't particularly like this. But I do think it's got a bit of element, because of the depth in it and the variety of notes. I think you could certainly wear this in, certainly 20s, 30s, 40s, even into your 50s, and enjoy this one a lot. It's got that musky cleanness as well, and it has got that darkness that might appeal to an older gentleman and a younger one in equal measure. Look, it's a compliment date night type scent, but it's one I think you can wear casually as well. So, just thinking of it now, I think this is really versatile. I'm really struggling to think of it as, look, I don't think it's as good as a Dior Sauvage like that, but it's fine, and I'd wear this to a job interview, anything like that. So for that reason, I've got to give versatility 8.5 again. It's a good solid start from this fragrance. When we get back, we'll talk projection. So workout done, it is now time to spray my room with this fragrance, Sand, Desert and Sunset. Sand, Desert at Sunset Intense, to test for projection. So if you haven't seen this before, essentially I spray my room 10 times. And I'm trying to see essentially how much this fills the room. So if a colleague came in, or a friend or a family member, would they notice the fragrance? Would they notice you've got this fragrance on? Obviously in a minute I'll go downstairs for 10 minutes, so we'll give it time to fill up the room, and I'll talk about projection during my run. Before that as well though, I need to spray my arm. So this is the test later on for longevity. So often I'm going to walk to the gym, do a gym workout, and then when I start to walk back after my shower, I'll see how much I can still recognise the fragrance. So we'll do 3 on each side. And yeah, I'll give my thoughts now then on projection during my run. How much did I notice it? Let's go down there. I can't wait for a coffee. Needed this to warm my hands up. So Sand Desert at Sunset Intense by Zara. How much did I notice the fragrance during my run? Honestly, not at all. Not once, I don't think, to be honest with you. And again, maybe that's the citruses in this. And I've always said about Ferragamo Uomo exactly the same. Not a really strong, heavy fragrance. And I kind of want a bit more. Look, this one is kind of trying to be in that sort of evening wear type scent, not really, really strong sort of winter type fragrance, and obviously not a summer citrus. That kind of very nice in between, which gives it that versatility as we spoke about earlier. But I feel like I want a bit more kick with this. If you've got those really nice sweet vanilla notes, let them come through, because they're the real things that get the confidence. And when they project, they're the things that people really like. And I just feel like it's underwhelmed a little bit on that. But again, I'm not saying this is meant to be that real winter type scent. I don't think, judging by the name, it is. But I did expect more. I expected a little bit more. Maybe it's because they're slightly cheaper notes, or it's a little bit more synthetic, a bit of a cheaper fragrance overall. Maybe that's why. But I think when you say the word intense, expect a bit more bite. If it just was the original, this would probably be okay. But when it says intense, when the bottles start like this, I wanted a little bit more. So I'm not expecting this to really fill a room. But what we'll do, we'll finish this, we'll head upstairs, and then I'll give a score on projection. So I've come into my room. How much can I smell this fragrance? Sand Desert at Sunset Intense. I'm having to keep saying it to remind myself. It's just not there, and I sprayed 10 times with this fragrance. And it's not a terrible atomizer. I'm detecting absolutely nothing with this. I'm really disappointed with this fragrance, and I'm going to just go straight. I'm going to actually give it a 1 out of 10, because there's nothing I can mark it on. There's nothing I can go on that can give it any score, because I've not noticed it on my run. I can't even smell it on my top where I sprayed it, and I can't smell it in the room at all. So there's nothing really here for this. And again, that is fine. If you want it to be an evening scent, I don't mind that too much, because again, it isn't that nighttime scent, but it is meant to be that transition into like the sort of warm day you've had in the desert to a cooler evening with a white t-shirt. And for me, this doesn't have enough bite, and I probably then, in that sense, I've spoken obviously about value for money earlier. I've started to now think, would I actually just go and get a slightly more expensive one if I want that scent DNA? It's a very familiar scent DNA. I could probably get a clone of some of those ones that, at the same price as that will just smell a bit stronger and more like the original that I actually want. So disappointed, very, very disappointed. 1 out of 10, and I really didn't expect that at all today. I'm very disappointed, because it is a nice scent, very easy to pull off, and it's one that will get compliment. It's got that compliment DNA about it. So try and make it that sort of fragrance, in my opinion, by getting it to fill up a room a little bit more. Get those sweeter notes to project more. You're meant to be intense. That's everything it's not. But we will talk about compliment factor on the way to the gym. Do I think this fragrance could get compliments if it gets noticed? Oh, it is very chilly today. So, Sand Desert at Sunset Intense. Do I think this one from Zara is a compliment getting fragrance? Well, it's got that DNA. One thing I can say, look, obviously the performance I've said isn't great on this, it doesn't project, but the DNA is built for confidence, and that is the whole reason I think this fragrance exists. And let's be honest, a lot of these companies like Zara are not going to do really divisive ones, because they're not those sort of brands. They're not, they're clothing brands more than fragrance brands, so they're just going to try and get the DNA of fragrances that are really popular on the market today to generate extra income, and it will. And it will definitely get compliments, because it's a very likeable scent. Obviously, vanilla, caramel, benzoin, they're all really popular notes in fragrances to get compliments. And even those nice citruses that you get in the opening here, they're obviously built for compliments as well. They're nice, they're approachable, they're wearable. And they're also in women's fragrances as well, so they'll recognise them and like them for that reason as well. The problem is, it is such a well-known DNA, and because of that lack of projection as well, I don't know how many people will really mention this. You're not going to really stand out. Look, you'll smell nice and you'll be pleasant. People will know you'll have a fragrance on. But it's no different to probably the next person who's sitting next to you who may have a similar interest in fragrances. It will have that similar smell, and people will just recognise it. So that's it. It takes sometimes quite a lot for people to say nice things, because you can almost be a bit different. And this one isn't maybe different enough. But as I said, it's not going to be negatively perceived by anyone. And in that sense, it will get compliments. And let's be honest, everyone knows like the Sauvage DNA, and it doesn't put people off from buying it. So yeah, get this one for compliments, of course, but don't maybe expect those real statement wow comments that may make you stand out. I think if you're someone into fragrances, you might want a little bit more than this. If you're someone who just wants to smell clean and nice, and just a little bit like everyone else, I think this is fine. So I think in terms of the score, it's kind of going to be middle of the range here. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I think it probably would have been a little bit more, had that little bit more kick of projection. But overall, this is a compliment getting fragrance. And yeah, my brother's bought it because he likes it, and he's one who owns a lot of fragrances, so it must have something mass pleasing about it if he's going for that. And maybe a little bit of depth, you know, it's got a bit of smokiness in it as well. So of course, if we get any at the gym today, I will make sure I bump up to a 10. Can't wait to get there. I'm freezing. Workout done, no confidence, but to be honest, I can barely smell it. I really can't. I thought I'd smell it a little bit more being inside, of course. But yeah, it just hasn't got anything, which made it a little bit more wearable for the gym, a bit more pleasant, but you're not going to notice it, which again, for this sort of occasion, that's absolutely fine because it could be cloying if it was too vanillic. But this isn't really what that's for. This is for trying to be a bit more, you know, attractive, seductive with its scent profile. It hasn't got that for me, so I don't think it's going to do very well with the longevity, so I will have a shower in a minute. But yeah, 3 words to describe it: tame, lame, and just the same. Smells the same as a lot of fragrances, but because it's so tame, it just makes it a little bit lame. That's my video title sorted anyway. Anyway, time to have a shower and then I'll give a score on longevity. It's just gone 12:05, so the showers were out of order at the gym, but I did manage to get a real hot trickle out of it, and that was more than enough for me. Most importantly, can I still smell this Zara fragrance after a workout and a shower? Yeah, so to be honest, and this is no surprise, I can't really. You can tell there's a fragrance on my skin, but you wouldn't be able to detect what it is. Even if you were someone who knew this fragrance, you'd almost go, I can't quite work out what that one is. And that says to me it's pretty much gone. It's probably 15% there, but it's like a very generic fragrance type smell rather than anything that you can really pick up that makes you go, ah, that's the fragrance I put on this morning. It's almost like you forget which one it is. Yeah, not surprised, it's underwhelming. I think anything that says intense should certainly have a little bit more than this, even if, again, it is a bit of a lighter fragrance. It's got those citrus notes in. I expected a bit more, and for longevity, I think for that reason, I'm going to give it a 4. I think it's just, I think you're going to need to reapply, even if this is, you know, not doing a workout or anything like that. It certainly doesn't fit the mould of the title, you know, this name of sand desert, you know, in the evening. It's not going to get you through the evening or at sunset, as it says. Yeah, unless you overspray, and that maybe it would work a little bit better if you oversprayed, but I still think even then it's underwhelming. It's pretty, yeah, it's just tame overall. It never even has a strong opening. Even if it had a strong 1 or 2 hours, I think I would have had a different impression of it, but it just hasn't. It hasn't got that kick, hasn't got that bite, and yeah, it's just not got anything unique about it. I've been quite critical of it today, but what we'll do, we'll head back, we'll count up all the scores, and I'll give my overall thoughts. Back in the room. It is so dark. I've actually had to turn the light on, but my workout is done. It is 1:32, and I have managed to do 40,017 steps, all while wearing this morning Sand Desert at Sunset Intense. Now, what was the overall score for this fragrance? Not very good. 29 out of 50. Very rare that I don't give a fragrance over 30. Now, really what I've marked it down for, actually it did quite well early on. It did amazing early on. I had 17 points when we talked about versatility and its price value for money. It's been marked down because of its longevity and ultimately its projection. It does not last. It really doesn't last at all. And as I said, I can sometimes appreciate that. Look, it's got lighter notes in it. We said this, it's got citrus notes in it. But don't market this as something that's intense. And look at the bottle. The bottle gives you that vibe of something that is going to be a little bit darker, maybe more for nighttime wear. And with some of those notes that are in this fragrance, you would have expected a little bit more. But I thought we'd finish on a different note with this one, because I know a lot of you like a spray off. So I was thinking, why don't I get out the fragrance I've been comparing it to all day, Ferragamo Uomo, and this one here, Sunset Desert. Sand Desert at Sunset. I don't think I'm ever going to get used to the name, and that's probably put me off as much as anything here. So what we'll do a spray off, and we'll see if this one really is stronger, because they do smell very similar. 3, 2, 1. Ferragamo Uomo is a lot stronger. So do I really recommend buying this? I would have said earlier, get 2 of these over 1 of these. I wouldn't now. I really wouldn't now. I'd rather pay the extra price. If you like that scent profile, great. And that's what this is good for. The one positive I can say about this today, the scent profile is mass pleasing. It's a very attractive type scent. It's just whether anyone notices it. But if you want, again, wear that in the morning, put that in your bag. It's a bit of a chunky bottle though. You'd be better off with this one anyway. But it would do that job as a bit of a top up through the day if you really wanted to, or just throw in your gym bag. But I think for £26, that's quite steep. If it was £12, £13, or maybe like their £15 range, I maybe would justify a bit more. But yeah, it's just not done it for me. An eau de parfum and intense, yeah, not sure about it. But Zara do great fragrances. I do want to emphasise they do really good fragrances. This just isn't one for me, and it's a little bit on that generic vibe. Just keep an eye out for them. Like, go into a Zara shop, just try the range, because they have loads of different ones, different releases all the time. And normally every time I've been in there, there's been one that's always stood out to me as a real gem. And yeah, the Ultra Glitch was the one most recently. It had that strawberry cream pastry smell that I really liked. But yeah, this one unfortunately isn't one of those. Hoping again tomorrow to do another fitness fragrance review. My brother is at work, so hopefully I can take another one of his. I've got one in mind, so hopefully you'll join me for that one too. Catch you later.